Hey guys, Ben here for BL Photography, and today I'm doing a quick video showing you how I edit my wedding photos. Now, wedding photos can take a lot of time. It can take a lot of, there's a lot of details to look at. So I thought today I'd show you just how I do my photos and how I get a consistent look throughout all of my photos. So specifically today, we're looking at a natural light wedding. So basically it was outside, window lighting, all that type of stuff. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So I'm going to show you how I took this image from this to this, okay? So let's go ahead and reset this image. This was at a beautiful venue. It was in our local area, and it was this huge ballroom with huge windows that let in a lot of light. Window light is some of the most beautiful light. It really softens those shadows and brings out a nice airy look to the image, an elegant look, if you will. And so I thought, man, it's really nice to have weddings like this. It's really nice to have lighting like this. So it was absolutely perfect, a photographer's dream, if you will. So anyway, here's what I do first. So first of all, let's look at all of our basic settings over here. It's zeroed out, of course, because we just reset this image. But what I like to do is I first like to adjust my exposure. And so I like to bring it up pretty high. I tend to overexpose, and I tend to overexpose when I'm done editing. That's just kind of the look I like. So I'm going to bring that to about 0.65 on the exposure slider there. And then I'm going to bring the contrast up, not much, maybe like 14 starting, and doing that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down my highlights so we have a little bit more contrast between the shadows and the highlights, not that much, maybe around -68, and bring up the shadows like that, and then bring down the blacks just a little bit. That way we can get kind of a lot of that dynamic range, if you will. I'm not going to mess with the vibrance, saturation, or clarity. The tone curve, this one's really important, and I actually have a preset for this. I just hit this. It's called Faded Blacks on my preset, and it fades out those blacks. Now that's a little bit too much, but I'll kind of show you how I go about doing this. So basically I put one in the center there, and you got to be careful because it will move on you a lot. And so you just kind of do some there, and then you take the end here to the far left and you just kind of fade it up a little bit. And you can see, if I actually zoom in here, you can see how it kind of gets this fadey, almost bluish look to the shadows there. And so that's what I tend to do, is I like to do that faded, almost filmy, as they would describe it, look. And so after doing that, I actually need to go back up before I go anywhere else. And I'm going to change my temperature, my white balance. A lot of people do the automatic white balance. For me, I like to do it manually in post most of the time, because I normally don't have time to really sit down and figure out my white balance for every single shot, because sometimes the lighting changes. So what I like to do is I tend to be a warmer shooting photographer. So that's pretty good right there. And the next thing I want to do is I want to actually take my greens down here on my hue and saturation list right here, and you can see greens. I want to take them over to the right, and this is going to give them more of a bluish, cooler tint to them, if you will. And that's kind of what I like to do. It's that contrast between a more warm overall image, but a bluer tones, such as the greens here. Okay, this is actually looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this image so far. The other thing I like to do is add the sharpness. So I'll usually go about 1.5 on my radius. On my details, about 57, and then on my masking, just enough till I mask around that particular item that I'm trying to keep very sharp. And I keep the amount usually 25, because that's basic sharpening and it looks pretty good. This was shot with the D850, so it's going to be really sharp anyways. And I shot ISO 64, 35 millimeter, 1.8, 1/40th of a second. So yeah. So anyway, no noise reduction is necessary in this image. I may rotate the image just a little bit. And so basically what I like to do, I click on Constraint Crop. So when I rotate, okay, let me show you an example. So if I actually rotated this without Constraint Crop, I would get these white lines. You can see actually where the image is actually rotating. But if I go to Constraint Crop, it will actually constrain that crop. That way you're not getting outside of that barrier, if you will. So about there, that's pretty good right there. And so I think overall I'm pretty happy with this image. There's really not much chromatic aberrations besides maybe a little bit here where it's ghosting on these blades and all that type of stuff. But the overall, where the sharp point is, the focus point was at, there's not much. There's a little bit there, but it's out of focus, so it doesn't matter much to me. Okay, the final thing I want to do to this image is I actually want to look at, it's basically done, right? But there's one more thing I want to do is I want to look back at the contrast and make sure that I'm happy with that. I don't want my image too punchy, as they would say, but yeah, I think 14, 15, about there, that's still good. Okay, so now, how do we keep this look consistent throughout the rest of the images with a similar lighting and similar color tones and color schemes and all that? How do we keep this consistent? You create a preset. So you come over to the presets and you'll see on the far right by the name, there is a little plus sign. That's your add. So you're basically going to take everything that you did on this image and turn it into a preset. So you click on that add button, and right here it actually will tell you what all will be applied with that preset. So we got the white balance, the tone curve, the clarity, the sharpening, color, split toning, all that type of stuff. You pretty much want everything there. You may not want cropping or anything like that, because some images don't need to be straightened up and some images just don't need to be cropped, period. So do be aware of that. But anyway, create a preset. Let's just call this, let's go to this. Let's call this video preset. And so now I've done that. And so basically what I can do now is I can go to this image right here and I can click on video preset on this image, and basically it's going to apply that preset. And now do be aware, you may need to do some tweaking, you may need to do some things in order to get them consistently. They're not always going to be perfect right when you apply the preset, but just keep messing around with that stuff and do what you can to get it to work how you like it. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video, and as always, please like, subscribe, and comment, and if you have any questions, put those in the comments below as well. Thank you guys, and have a great day.